He say he's still trying to find us a better connect. And for muscle, he's saying he's sending us the best he can find. Brother Mouzone.
He's sending him, brother?
From New York. Coming down to work on retainer. For as long as we need.
Brother Mouzone.
Yep.
Now, due to a lack of screen time, Brother Mouzone remains a mystery to a lot of us Wire fans. Sites like Wire Fandom and Wikipedia won't give you anything interesting or information that you didn't already know. But just so happen, I'm from one of the cities that has intimate knowledge of these men, most of whom eventually switched their ideology to Sunni Islam. But a lot of them chose to stay and cling to the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, finding it to be more suitable for the trials and tribulations of black men, or at least black men in America. But to make a short story shorter, Brother Mouzone is not based on one particular person, but instead is a loose depiction of a FOI member during the 80s and 90s. This was the paramilitary wing of the nation, the official security agency that during the 90s alone made over $20 million patrolling dangerous housing projects. This part of the Wire was factual, but there's a big difference between this and any alleged murder for hires. All murder contracts must be categorized as unofficial, whether true or false, because the Nation of Islam is not a mercenary company. It's not where you go to have someone killed. We only think this way because of the deeds of certain ministers who may or may have not have had knowledge of these murders and massacres taking place. But regardless, they brought shame to their mosque and eventually shame to the nation as a whole. And a lot of these insights I have on this topic, y'all, come from a family member who was a part of this community for over 40 years. So don't take this information as historical more than anecdotal, you feel me? I just want to try to elucidate what's not really evident on the show.
Alright, so listen, we got some time here. Alright? Everyone gotta send up word, wait for word to come back, set up a price, talk to Brother Mouzone, set up the whole shit, and that's like a week or maybe two. And by that time, your people's gonna be in the towers, and if the money's right, then that is what it is. Ain't no nigga from New York gonna change the facts from the ground. Alright?
Now, first we gotta understand, y'all, that Mouzone is not simply some contract killer that anyone could just hire, regardless if you can afford his hefty deposit along with expenses. But in the rare case that someone does qualify for this connection, then Mouzone is more of a man that you contact to fix things, which might not necessarily involve killing anyone. But before you even get there, first you will need to be referred by someone in Mouzone's inner circle, who will most likely be of the same religion. And it's this man who will vouch for your personal character and code of honor. And he serves as the bridge between you and Mouzone, because in reality, contact between Mouzone and Avon is not really necessary and should be avoided if possible. But keep in mind that if Mouzone is betrayed in any way, this man could also be held responsible.
You reached out to a third party who engaged me in the purpose of holding your towers. That third person's word was your word, as he represented you.
That's right.
And I ran those East Baltimore gentlemen off. I held up my end of the agreement, at least for as long as I was physically able.
You did.
Now, this is what a businessman sounds like when he's explaining to you how you breached your contract. And Avon and Mouzone's agreement was an oral contract. And oral contracts are highly dependent upon a person's integrity. So although Avon didn't backstab Mouzone himself, if you want to become a leader, you forfeit the privilege of saying it's not my fault. You are now responsible for the actions of you and your subordinates. Which brings me to another point. Brother Mouzone was always Avon's equal. He worked with him, not for him. These are not the type of men that you'll be barking orders to. Once you clearly express the problem that you want resolved, Mouzone will reply if it's in his power or not. Then, once terms are agreed upon, the contract is now in effect. by which time Mouzone has free reign over all matters that concern his contract, meaning that Stringer Bell's position as number 2 is only on paper, because his authority is not recognized by Mouzone, who only reports to Avon.
Am I correct in assuming that you are not employed by Mr. Barksdale?
Hell yeah.
Because if that is the case, then I have to insist that you leave.
This nigga serious.
Let me be emphatic. You need to take your black ass across Charles Street to where it belongs.
What? Oh, hold on now. Hold on now. You know what I'm saying? He don't know what this is. It ain't what he think. You know what I'm saying? First of all, we got permission to grind in these here towers. Second of all, I don't give a fuck what the fuck you need.
Now, one of my favorite aspects of The Wire that I think the directors and the writers just hit on the nose is the ability to convey a character's reputation, sprinkling just the right amount of exaggeration on top, but in an authentic manner, which may or may not exceed that person's actual abilities. This is how we tend to perceive people in the real world, rarely through practical means like witnessing one's abilities and having a grounded understanding of them, but rather through campfire stories and small talk that by nature will either exaggerate or underestimate one's true capabilities.
You don't think I'm gonna send any of my people up against brother? Shit. That nigga got more bodies on him than a Chinese cemetery.
True.
Black Donnie say he ain't having any of it. Say Brother Mouzone put a hex on all of us.
Now, Black Donnie does not mean that Mouzone hexed them all in a literal sense, which means to curse someone or to cast an evil spell upon them. Because as a Muslim, this will contradict Mouzone's belief system, which strictly forbids the use or association of magic and the dark arts. I'm assuming that Donnie was speaking figuratively, and also that he was a capable soldier, given that Slim Charles reported on him first. But this just lends more credence to Mouzone's fearful reputation that is not the result of voodoo or excessive brutality.
Bird and them were there to see it, but another man did all the extras. All that cigarette shit. All that bullshit with the eyes. See, now this man, he building a rep for himself, and he wants you bad. The brutal shit, that's his calling card. Bow tie wearing motherfucker from out of MIC. Yeah, small dude.
What'd he go by?
Brother Mouzone. I know you heard of him, right?
The result of Brother Mouzone's reputation derives from an extended period of being effective and efficient. I'm sure that he has a flawless record regarding his contract history, because Mouzone is known as the best, even amongst the nation standards, which is why his reputation must be safeguarded against any slander. This has nothing to do with street cred, but credibility itself, which is a prerequisite for obtaining respect.
Business is where you are now. But what got you here is your word and your reputation.
Understand this, men. When it comes to respect, our ability to keep our word will define us more than our ability to acquire wealth. And as men, we will spend majority of our lives trying to align our actions with our words, which is a difficult task, because the world will create obstacles to try to prevent you from keeping your word. God said, if man can control two things, I can guarantee him paradise. What is between his two legs, meaning his privates, and what is between his two jawbones, meaning his tongue. For it is these two things that will cause men most of their hardships. And also keep in mind that although Mouzone held a reputation as an infamous enforcer, Stringer Bell was the only person he killed throughout his time on the show, in which time his most lethal weapon was not a gun, but his tongue.
Right when you say I need to learn more discipline, but this, you could do this better.
You're the perfect bait, Lamar. They'll see you as conflicted. Your homophobia is so visceral.
You see that? I ain't even stepped inside the joint yet, and you calling me a cocksucker already.
Now, Brother Mouzone is actually a character that inspires me to learn new words every day. This man never misses a chance to call someone stupid right to their face. He tells Lamar that he's the perfect B. They'll see him as conflicted because his homophobia is so visceral, which means to have deep, crude emotions that are instinctive rather than intellectual. Basically saying that Lamar has a deep hatred for gay people, but he lacks any rational reason for this hatred, and most likely will be unable to explain it if asked why. Lamar in turn thinks he's being called gay, but he's actually being told that he's not intelligent enough to understand his own dislikes.
Is there an alley entrance?
Bolted up on both sides, so we're gonna have to go through the front.
That should change for you, isn't it?
Now, if Brother Mouzone ever made a gay joke, it was definitely right there, because he can't be implying that Omar never uses a front entrance, seeing as though he came through one to shoot you in the stomach. So yeah, it was a gay joke. But this reminds me of something that David Simons has said about sexuality and how people like Mouzone are a part of a system that has a set code of ethics and values, whereas Omar is more of a lone wolf. He creates his own principles as he goes, giving him a privilege of being openly gay more than someone like a Bill Ross, who's not still in the closet due to cowardice, but due to being ambitious inside of a police department. Another system that has its own code of ethics that on paper might can't discriminate, but papers don't promote people. And when Mouzone finally returned to Baltimore to settle the score, it's Omar's sexuality that he uses to flush him out. Because Omar might be good at protecting himself, but he's a failure at protecting the people that he loves.
I am looking for the man they sent. From his accent, he's homegrown, raised on the street. Skilled, intelligent, late 20s, dark, but with a scar across his face, like so. You down with this nigga?
I know him. Not to speak to. But you can't be anywhere near the game and not know the motherfucker.
He with Barksdale?
He with himself. Except for when he running with a young boy too.
Alright y'all, I'm about to wrap this one up right here. But I'm gonna be hitting y'all with some content soon. Me and my man Big Rich from the Chop Shop got a collaboration in the works. And it's somebody I plan on working with a lot in the future. But until then, it's your boy Swartz, y'all. You here with a man's world. Like, comment, and subscribe for me and all that. It's time for me to get out of here.
And to remind you who I am.
Omar, isn't it?